The Sancho situation is becoming a farce. Conspiracy theories and lies are now being created. These fanboys are out in absolute full force. And the stuff they're saying and making up is horrendous. But as ever, when it comes to these situations, it's catching fire. And the myth and the lies are becoming a reality in many people's eyes. Now, you will know my stance on this. Before we go into it, hit like buttons, of course, and subscribe. You will know my stance. I don't think Ten Hag should wear dirty linen in public. I think he's wrong for doing that. I understand, though, that maybe he did it because he's at the end of his tether with a player that's not hit the ground running, had barely any games for Man United where he looked anywhere near his ability and what he should be performing, the most technically gifted forward that we have. But in terms of his output, delivery, and consistency versus that, it's second to none. And as we saw, last season started the last 9 games, started 12 of the last 16. This man has had his chances in a Manchester United shirt. But let's take a look at what's been said here by Adrian Durham, and now this crazy lie that the Sancho fanboys have created. Let's take a little listen.
Why are you instantly taking the side of the manager?
He's the manager.
And?
He's the manager.
This is a manager who's had...
It's irrelevant.
He's had...
So let me just stop. Danny Mills is wrong here. Just because he's the manager doesn't mean you just take his side. Jose Mourinho called out Anthony Martial for being at the birth of his child, and in my personal opinion, that is absolutely wrong on every single level. You have to assess the situation in hand and be objective about it.
Issues with Ronaldo.
Doesn't matter.
He's had issues with Maguire.
It's irrelevant.
Why is it irrelevant?
Because he's the manager.
He should be under scrutiny, shouldn't he?
No, because he's the manager.
Okay, again, Adrian Durham's right about one thing, wrong about the other. Ten Hag should be under scrutiny, 110%. However, bringing up Ronaldo and Maguire is completely irrelevant. Maguire hasn't been good enough to play for Man United for 3 years. Ten Hag has said to him straight, you're 4th to 5th choice. If you want to stay, stay. I'm not going to mistreat you. As long as you are working hard, as long as you are behaving correctly, you've got a contract here. I can't force you out. But if we get the right offer, I'm happy for it to be accepted because you're my 4th or 5th choice. That's not falling out with a player. Adrian Durham has twice now, this is the second time, tried to create this narrative that Ten Hag had ruined Harry Maguire and not that he was struggling prior. Let's have that straight. On Ronaldo, again, the manager was very delightful, polite, respectful in the public eye. Ronaldo wasn't starting in games, but Ronaldo was coming on and not doing very much either. Most Man United fans wanted Ronaldo gone. They felt he was past his best to be able to deliver in the Premier League. The manager helps move him on, and suddenly now that's being twisted into a negative. 2 elements are completely irrelevant to this situation.
What's he's under scrutiny? He's Manchester United manager.
But if Sancho's not pulling his weight in training, not doing what he's asked...
According to Ten Hag.
Well, simple as that. If your boss here says, Adrian, I want you to do this in the show, and you don't do it, you're done. Simple as that. Whether you like it or not, you do as you're told.
And I understand, listen, I agree with that. Now, again, Adrian Durham throws in that little line, according to Ten Hag. My question back to him would be, what's the motivation to lie? Nobody yet has given me a good enough answer. Lee Gunner said yesterday he thinks they just had a bust up and this is the manager's way of getting him back. Again, I don't understand how that works, because if you're lying about one of your players in public, you're losing your dressing room. These same people that are going with Ten Hag, the Lee Gunners, the Mikes, all these other people online, they also think he's a puppet who's here for money. So why would he do something that's going to ruin his relationship in the dressing room with multiple players that could lead to him losing that money that he is a puppet for? The logic doesn't make sense. But in terms of the lie that's being created, let's go back to yesterday and take a listen to what Lee Gunner said. Take a little listen to this.
Reminded me. So when Casemiro was asked who's the best in training, he said Sancho. Is Casemiro potentially lying then?
So remember what Lee Gunner said there. When Casemiro was asked who the best was in training, he said Sancho. I've seen multiple Sancho fanboys tweet this, and people that are Ten Hag out all tweet and say that thousands of them. We've got proof that he's the best trainer at the club, therefore Ten Hag is lying. And it's catching fire. I've seen it on other podcasts, gigantic podcasts, say those exact same words. Casemiro said he's the best trainer at the club. Just to remind you what I said yesterday.
Yes, he is. When he says potentially lying, isn't he?
So when he's saying, let me answer the question. Lee, let me answer the question. So when he says best in training, did he say technically the best in training or the hardest worker?
Irrelevant.
Lee Gunner says irrelevant. And that's the response I've had on socials. So I put a tweet out and I said, can anybody find me Casemiro is saying this because I wanted to understand the context of it. And the context is absolutely hilarious. It's hilarious. The question was, who's the most skillful in training? And he does say Sancho. But he also says Anthony. So the fanboys have left out that he actually says Anthony as well. And they've changed the wording. They've changed the wording from most skillful player in training to the best trainer, the best in training, variations of those words. And when you start lying to create an argument, you're done out here. And then what a lot of people do, and I think Lee Gunner's fallen into this trap here, when you become what I call a headline reader, you don't read the articles, you don't watch the videos. And by the way, Lee yesterday spoke about this for ages, gave his opinions, but then admitted he hasn't actually watched what Ten Hag said. Didn't listen to his tone, his words. So he has no idea what Ten Hag has said, but he has an opinion on it. And I'm seeing a lot of this from people. The fact they're lying that Casemiro said this, by the way, it was in November 2022 as well, by the way. Sorry, October 2022. They also were trying to make it sound like it's a recent thing. This lie is crazy. I want this situation resolved. I would love for Sancho to work out at Manchester United. But for me, I smell an absolute rat when it comes to this situation. I really, really do.
How dare you?
They had the guts to say same old Arsenal always cheated. They are the biggest cheats in the history of football. The biggest disgrace. How dare they? How dare they call us cheats after what they've done?
After what? Do you know the funniest thing about this rant from Ty, legitimately? Is same old Arsenal always cheating is a chant that I think pretty much every fan base will throw at them when they score a controversial goal, get a penalty, or if their team doesn't get a decision go their way. I get why Ty's angry. He feels Man United are cheats. It all makes sense. I get the logic. But what I find hilarious is away from this. Every fan base thinks their biggest rivals are the biggest cheats out there. And the thing is, none of us are actually... You can cheat sometimes. If someone dives for a penalty, you're a cheat. I kind of get that. If you handball like Henry did in the World Cup qualifier against Ireland, you're cheating. You dive like Rooney did to stop the invincible run, you're cheating. I get those incidents. Perez dived for a penalty in the invincible run. That's cheating. But half the time, like Man United getting a penalty that's a rightful penalty isn't cheating. Garnacho's goal being disallowed, it was offside. It should have been... fans just go straight to cheating. And Ty takes it so seriously, but he isn't the only one. So many fans do this. And it's always been something I've never really understood. I love my football. I love fan banter. I love all of it. But I've never understood calling Arsenal cheats for a correct decision. The same as when Kai Havertz's penalty was overturned. It wasn't because Man United were cheating. It's because the refs made the right decision. But I suppose, again, a bit like the Sancho thing we spoke about, kind of lying and calling people cheats is a way of us not reflecting on what we really know to be the truth of the matter. That either we weren't good enough, our favorite player wasn't good enough, or there's problems with a certain individual. So what we do is we deflect, we lie, we create conspiracy theories to pretty much just make ourselves feel better.
Embarrassing, the clips that I heard Simon and all your presenters yesterday talking about it. I mean, look, we all like Jordan Henderson. He's a really likable individual, fantastic servant for England, 77 caps over 13 years, Premier League, Champions League with Liverpool, great servant for Liverpool on and off the field. We've all done events with Jordan Henderson where he's been going into hospitals, working with food banks, whatever. I mean, he's a
good guy, Hendo.
There is a conscience there.
Yeah.
But his reputation has changed overnight by taking this step because of the hypocrisy of people who've been pointing out, wearing the rainbow laces and now going to a country and saying he's going to sort of, effectively abide by their rules, their mores. And, in a country where homosexuality is criminalized, also taking us for fools by saying he hasn't gone there for money.
Right. I also want to stop what Henry Winter's saying here. I've thought a lot of people talk about this Henderson situation. And look, when you've been as big an advocate as he has been for the LGBTQ plus community, I understand their outrage when you then go and apply your trade in a country where their sexual orientation is criminalized. I understand why they would be outraged, because their whole movement is about the legalization and the human rights that they believe they deserve. So when you are very outspoken about supporting those human rights, going and taking money from wealthy people from a country who advocate the criminalization and in some cases the death of people from that community, there is always going to be hypocrisy called out. And I think Henderson can there's nothing he can say or do to defend it. I know he said that maybe he can help affect things internally, etc. That remains to be seen. So I get that. The money side of things, look, let's have it right. This is the type of, I always talk about, sometimes I don't think managers should air dirty linen in public, and I agree. But I always say that there are times when you have to tell the truth. And this is where Jordan Henderson, for me, should have come out and said, the money they've offered me is astronomical. Astronomical. I can set up the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 generations of Henderson families with this money. It is beyond generational wealth. It's sort of a hierarchical wealth. Sorry, it's ridiculous. That's why he's gone there. He sort of said that if Liverpool would have asked me to stay, I would have done. He's kind of alluded to feeling a little bit betrayed by the club. You weren't betrayed by anybody. You're no longer good enough to play for Liverpool. They didn't offer you anything potentially because they wanted to bring in better than you. You were offered an astronomical amount of money to go and play in the Saudi league. Now, a lot of players have gone out there, and a lot of them have gone there past their best. And I know they're trying to build a league that has genuine credibility and quality to it, and fair play to the Saudis for doing that. But I agree with Henry Winter with everything regarding the LGBTQ plus community. And then the kind of, I didn't go for money, when we know a lot of people are going there because the money is so good. If the money was the same as he was earning at Liverpool, my personal belief is he wouldn't go. When you start lying about, this is the problem, when you lie about one thing, the rest of it starts to unravel. Just like I spoke about earlier with the Sancho situation, when you start using lies, and it might only be one in your arguments and you're easily debunked, the rest of what you say starts to become irrelevant. And look, I agree. Look, Henderson's made himself look very stupid here. He probably hasn't damaged his legacy with Liverpool fans. I don't think Liverpool fans in their heart of hearts will really care. They'll be glad he's gone. But in terms of the lot of the organizations that he helped support, they're going to look at him very differently now, almost to the degree of you turned your back on what you've been helping us to try and achieve for money. And you're saying it's not for money. And almost that stance saying it isn't for money has made people more angry. If you'd have just said the truth, that no matter what I believe in, I'm trying to help in society, my family means more to me, and giving them this wealth means more to me, I think people would respect that honesty in this particular situation. But as ever, my people, listen, I really do respect your opinions, even if we disagree. Please make sure like buttons are hit and you are subscribing to the Football Terrace. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.